Okay, so we have a quick update, ladies and gentlemen. I will show the cool stuff first, which is just two-step anti-lag banging teenager stuff that everybody loves, including myself. So we'll show that first, so then you can leave and get on with your day. And then for people that want banter and the filler and some storyline and some funny stuff, they can watch the rest. So where we are at with this guy is we're waiting for a good day to make a pass. Someone had made a thread on like Sloppy Private, I believe, or something like that after I made a meme, and they're like, did Matt give up on the car? So the short answer is no, it didn't give up. There was an opportunity to get some track days over Thanksgiving, but we couldn't line anything up. We had Thanksgiving stuff going on and a bunch of other things. Mark was going places, Mitch was going places, I was going places. It didn't line up, it didn't work out. And then when the three of us or two of us at a time were able, we did get some snow and ice. So over the weekend of Thanksgiving, that Saturday and Sunday, ATCO had Test and Tune, and they canceled because of snow and ice. So that was one of the times we were going to go. Like I said, I don't want to make a ton of these videos where I talk about the car and what's going to happen, and then we can't line up a race day. I don't want to have 30 videos of me saying, we're going to try to race in the 3 days. We're going to try to race in the next 3 days. It didn't work out. We didn't race. So it would have been much more enjoyable for me to just post a video of us doing well than this stuff. But since people were asking, and I did do one or two different things, and I actually had to own my own snafu here of something I didn't check, and then I did something dumb and almost bricked my computer, but I fixed it. So we'll go over that quick. One of the quick ones is we got the chute on. So we're borrowing this chute from somebody, and we're going to give it back when we're done. But it's just there in case we can't stop the car. I mean, it's probably going to be safe to just yank it anyway and not, try the brakes for the first time at 160. We did slow down from like 100 miles an hour on the street a bunch of times. They're there, but obviously that is a nice precaution if the car is going to go as fast as we hope it does, right? So everything else is good. Everything else is the same. I want to do a coil pack update. I believe I say this every other video. We're going to get on that, but I want to make sure that this car doesn't blow up again before I pursue more of that. So yeah, that's going to happen, but if this car is reliable, the only thing I changed was the coil packs. The tune is the same. Everything else is the same. All of the physical things are the same. Really, all I did was change the coil packs. So that would be something, right? That's like a nail in the coffin as far as just testing the parts. And then I want to go a step further and test the coil itself, the one that was on that cylinder, and see if we can measure something wrong with it, because that would be 100% confirmed, and then that's something people should know. So the other thing that I did was I installed that Wentzler button in here for fun. And this is something I knew about in the back of my mind, and I should have thought about it. But the Wentzler buttons here, this guy, the two buttons on the shifter. So I installed those, and those have a light, LEDs in them. And most people use that so they don't have to have any electronics, and they can just directly power their torque converter lockup or nitrous. Mostly, I think he does a lot of pulling truck stuff, so you can get that with power out, and you can directly power out stuff. And I thought in my head, man, I bet there's a diode or a protection circuit in there so people don't blow up the board, because the board electronics are small. So you don't want to put backfeed or do anything else. So they put a diode in. And I know about this because of other ECUs and electronics, that if there's a diode and you wire it to a ground input on an ECU, it can backfeed voltage when you turn the computer off and keep sending power. It's a whole long thing. If you have experienced it before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So the battery was dead on this the one day, and I'm like, why is the battery dead? So I've been hooking it up to a charger, and I'm like, okay, I'll investigate this dead battery thing. What's going on here? Everything's been rock solid. I don't understand. So then I disconnected the battery and the battery was fine. Then I hooked it back up again, and it pulled it down overnight. It wasn't completely dead, but it was extremely low voltage. And Mitch and I were doing something up here, ironing some stuff out, and I realized that the ECU wasn't turning off. The lights on the ECU were not turning off when you turn the ignition off. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? So I immediately, Holly had released new firmware, the 2nd generation firmware for the released Terminator ECU. So I'm like, maybe something funny happened. Maybe I did something or whatever else happened. The ECU's staying on. I'll flash it with the new firmware. So I flashed the computer with the new firmware, and I wrote like a quick, ugly tune-up just so we could key it on. And then the fuel pump cycled and the ECU turned on. And then we turned the switch off and the ECU stayed on again. So I'm like, is there something wrong? So I went through a whole slew of things. Long story short, we ended up finding out that the shifter was backfeeding power. Once we disconnected everything associated with the shifter, the ECU would shut off because it wasn't getting power from the shifter setup. So I hit up Wentzler and I'm like, does this have diodes in it? He's like, yes. I said, what do I clip? I know what a diode looks like, but I don't want to ruin this. So just, I took it apart, sent him a picture. He confirmed everything. He's like, cut these 2 things out. I took pictures of it. Probably won't throw them in here unless people specifically ask for it. Otherwise, you can ask Wentzler, but this is something you need to look for. Most of his customers directly power things, like I said, and I'm putting it in as ground soft inputs for the ECU. So that's where the whole issue stemmed. So from there on, I was using new firmware with a tune that I had never started this car on. So today we're going to race in the next couple days, at least within the week. We're going to try to get to a track. Everything's looking good. The weather's looking good. All 3 of us can go. So I go to just triple check some stuff today, and I go to start this thing, warm up the trans, warm up the engine. I wanted to test the boost, which you saw. The opening video here is me testing different boost levels. So I start this thing, and it's running awful. It's running like hot garbage. It's running terrible. And I try to change some things in the tune to get it ironed out, and it's still running awful. So I got frustrated, and I'm like, you know what? The only reason I shouldn't even work on this tune, the only reason I put this tune in and why it doesn't run is because I thought something was wrong with the computer and it was just the backfeeding thing. But I'm like, okay, so what we're going to do is flash the old firmware back on and load the old tune from the dyno and then just go over all the settings and then I'll be set. So what was good on the dyno will be good for making passes. And I go to flash this thing and I did something with the switch, or I did something and I interrupted it. And I'm like, you horse's ass. So I was like, I probably bricked this computer. You're a moron. You know, oh, well, let's go race. Let's brick the computer before we race. So a lot of this is annoying because it's self-inflicted stuff, but I'm sure some of you can, you know, play along with this. You definitely have done it. I've done it. So anyway, long story short, I made a bench rig and I pulled the computer out, bench flashed it in my office, got the computer working good, loaded the old calibration, did a TPS set, and this thing started like it always has, been running for months, and boom, it fired, it ran, idled, I warmed it up, I warmed up the trans, and what I also did was I want to wire in a back pressure sensor because I want to know how far the turbo is. So I took the dome map off because I'm like, I'm burning an input on that. I can just run raw duty cycle. I want to test it anyway because I've tested the closed loop. So I'm going to run raw duty out. So I changed that. And then this is a new wiring harness because the other one got burned. So I never did the dome map T-in. So all of that, I set up the, hilariously enough, I took a wild guess at the boost control. So first clip you'll see is 6 pounds, that's wastegate. And then I turn the boost controller on and hit it and it goes to 17. I wanted about 14 because we launched on 13 pounds and we put in a -3 degree ignition retard on the launch that fades back in. So that's to help hook the tire and manage the power. We talked about it before on Lake Cameron's car. So this time I wanted to hit it with 14 flat and no ignition retard and see how it does, because it did almost a 60-foot wheelie and cut a 136. So it's pretty much ready to go. I figure we can just hit it a little bit harder than that. Maybe, you know, maybe it could launch on 17 at first, whatever. Anyway, so yeah, I was like, oh crap, 17. So then I adjusted it and I made 14. So all that stuff is saved and in here and good to go. That was that was all today, man. Like all of those self-inflicted problems, I was like, this is great. This is a lot of fun. This is exactly what I wanted to do, is mess this up before we get our opportunity to go make a pass like a moron. So anyway, all that's sorted. The car is good. I have it up in the air. I want to check all the nuts and bolts again, just go over a bunch of stuff. Everything was fine since the last time it was at the dyno. Just, again, look for stupid leaks, zip tie a bunch of things. I had that aluminum catch pan made. So there's an aluminum belly on it now that bolts in. So that's my diaper now. Everything else is good to go. So yeah, I'll show you guys the video of that. This is the filler update in between. And then I guess we'll I'll put the parts of the interior I ripped apart to mess around today back together, and that's where we'll go from. Other than that, you know, we're just hoping for a nice, clean, safe, explosion-free pass, since it seems like it's the coil packs. So hopefully everything's good. It goes and stops, and all the internals stay internal. That's the big one. That hasn't happened yet. But I would like to say I'm cautiously optimistic. I feel like I have a sunny disposition, so I always feel like I'm going to do good. But the reality is I would never take this car to the track and scatter it 200 feet out for fun. I don't think that would happen. I thought it was okay, which is the only reason why I did that. So, again, I think it's okay this time. We did, if you guys watched the live stream when we had it on the dyno, I made over 700 horsepower like 5 times in a row. So that was a good test. We've never had it making that kind of power that many times in a row. We always had an issue right away at the track or the dyno. So all of that is looking good, right? Hopefully all that stuff adds up. Yeah. So we're going to try to leave on 14 and go to like mid-20s boost immediately. No ramp, just raw output, let the converter and everything else work. Hopefully the car 60 foots. Everything else is good. I think that's it. I think I covered everything in all the updates. Don't think we did anything else. It's pretty much the same as the other videos, just my fiasco with the firmware and being an idiot, and then the wiring backfeeding. Yeah. Causing some oh no moments. Plenty of those today. So everything else is looking good. Okay. So that's it. Hopefully the next video of this car we have is a success story, or at least, well, anything. If we go with the car and leave with the car running, that's a success story for now, because it has been uphill, extremely steep uphill battle. And then the next thing is the G is ready to go on the dyno. Just have to get it there. Just have to, I mean, I'm using my free time to go to the track. Might have some time to just throw it on the dyno when I tune something else. But it'd be nice to, I've never really taken my time with this. And like I think I said in the video, I'll run it right off the street, and then what I want to do is ice the blower, ice the intercooler, and do all the stuff that, like I said, all the other guys do that when they tune their blower car. They always, because the truth is, if you go to the track and you eventually race a blower car like this, you're going to do that. You're going to wait, and you're going to ice everything and ice the intercooler, and you're going to try to get your best result out of it, obviously. So the other dyno numbers are just the street numbers, which are safe for you to, obviously, I pound on this thing, and it is good with that. So that 630 rear wheel is, you can abuse it like that. So it'd be neat to make more. We'll see what else happens. I think that's been... How long are we on here? Who knows? I don't know. Quite a mini Rambletron update. Is anyone feeling deja vu? So the pre-track update for the 15th time for the red Mustang. Let's get this thing down the track and get it out of here and move on to some other fun stuff, because this thing, it'll be fun when it does it, but man, it has not been a whole lot of fun. The journey for this car has been difficult. It has been challenging in its own ways, for sure. So that's it. I'll just get out of here before I talk endlessly about strange things with this car.